Welcome back to Epic Talks, family. If you're talking about it, we're talking about it. The goal of Epic Talks is to create a platform to address the things that you're having in everyday conversation and to hit everything under the sun, from the boardroom, the things that happens in your professional life, to the bank account, what's happening in your finances, to the bedroom. I'm talking about your intimate relationships, not just your boo, your bae, but I'm talking about your homeboy, your homegirl, your family, whatever that looks like, to the Bible. We want to make sure that you get a perspective on all things related to life. Well, today on Epic Talks, I'm excited because I get to interview. I can't even say interview. It's a conversation. And it's amazing. This is, man, you ever meet someone and from day one, you like, wow, how did I move and maneuver without this person? This is not just someone that is a friend of mine. This is my brother. Like, we do life together. We hang out. We have a good time. So I want to introduce today someone that you know, but most importantly from a different perspective, and talk about everything from the boardroom to the bedroom to the bank account to the Bible with my good friend, my brother, singer, entrepreneur, pastor, Smokie Norful.
Woo!
My man.
Man, I'm excited to be here, brother.
Man, I'm excited to have you.
Thank you for letting me hang out. So I don't get to see this side. For everybody, let me tell everybody, I don't get to see this side. I'm literally like the brother, the partner. We hang, we just have a good time. Yeah. So he actually took his friend to work day.
Right. Man, what's crazy is, so we met at a conference. Mm-hmm. Good friend of ours, Darius Daniels.
Yeah,
Darius
for sure.
Daniels conference. That's my guy.
Yeah.
And even then, you know how somebody introduced you and the event starts, but we were the ones in the corner making noise because we started talking right away, and they're like,
and they're like, shh. Yeah, everybody, be quiet, be quiet. They started. Oh,
right,
oh, my bad.
Right. And we exchanged numbers, and anyone who knows me know I'm horrible with the phone.
Let me reiterate.
Ahead.
He is horrible with the phone. Like months later, like to the extent that can I tell? How much can I tell?
Go ahead.
I was so adamant to connect with him that I actually, this is crazy, I registered for his class just to get him to call me back. And so he said, "Hey man, I'm gonna hit you back." I told my wife, I said, "Listen, I'm not gonna bug him. I don't want to become one of those persons." And so time went by till finally we connected. Yeah. And I'm saying, I can speak. Oh, I hit the mic. My bad. I can speak on behalf of both myself and my wife. We are so grateful that we know God sent you and your wife into our lives. Like,
wow.
Like it means everything to us. Like, wow. We're truly excited because we need God connections.
Man.
Yeah, we need true brotherhood, covenant. You know, like you said, we can talk about everything from the bedroom to the Bible to business. Yeah. I mean, and that's literally been our experience. So, man, we're grateful for that.
Man, the feeling's mutual. You know, I think we should jump right in there, right? So, like, one of the things that every person, whether you're a person of faith or just everyday person, we always hear people say that your net work is your net worth. Mm-hmm. And then you hear people of faith talk about building relationships and the importance of that, right? Getting in the room and divine connections. I realized even in that, right, the busyness of my schedule had it to where I would have missed out on someone that's supposed to be a part of my life, right? Mm-hmm. Think about what he said. Hey, I kept reaching out. And imagine if you were a less secure person, right? Just think about it. He was like, man, I reached out several times. Let me give context. We're not talking about just, he's humble, but you're talking about someone who track record. Everybody knows Smokie Norful, right? You're talking about around the world, world renowned, multiple hit records, awards, recognized everywhere. And you're talking, and it wasn't that it was a bother, right? But imagine, and the reason why I think it's great because we're friends to talk about this, that people understand you could lose a connection you're supposed to have on my end, right? This is me dropping the ball. Just busyness, running around, and then like I had to discover something.
And it's legitimate busyness,
right?
It's not like you out here lollygagging and just wasting time. You're actually working, being progressive and being productive. But one of the things that I've learned and had to learn the hard way is I can never allow the productivity of my business to trump the importance of the people You know, that literally has had to be a foundational lesson for me, because I can be so busy working on ministry or working on the business or working on whatever it is that I miss who I'm working for.
Man, if that ain't a bar.
Yeah, I can't afford to do that. So many people get even church, you know, even as a pastor, people, they get caught up in doing ministry that they forget who they're doing ministry for, and so the people become the less important part. And when that happens, you literally have reversed the order, and you set yourself up for a setback, because how many times, as you said, have you missed important connections?
Yeah.
You know, I'll share this testimony of my own experience. So we were trying to buy a strip mall when I started pastoring. We were new at church, new congregation, but we were doing extremely well. God had favored us, thousands of members. Our financial solvency was incredible. We were just in great condition, but we were struggling to get this piece of property that we wanted. Mm-hmm. We ran into every block, every roadblock, every hindrance, every apprehension that they could extend towards us. They did not, including the banks. We even dealt with that with the lending institutions at the time. And so there was a lady in my church who was real anti everything, just anti people, anti peace, anti joy, just anti everything. And I had decided as a young pastor, you know, I'm just, you know, hot headed. I'm like you said, I'm smoking Norful, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I got Grammys. What do you mean?
Yeah.
And I just decided I don't have to deal with this. I don't have to put up with this. So I was going to put her out of my church. Like, I was literally about to put her out of my church. I wrote the letter. It was real strong. And I sent it to my dad, who has been pastor for 45 years. And I sent it to him. He said, "You're not going to send this." I said, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to send it." He said, "No, you're not going to send this. Go back again. Write it with more grace." I did it with more grace. He told me to take things out. He sent me back 3 times. When we get to the conclusion of it, I did it very graciously, and I didn't put her out. I just said, "Hey, we would love to have you here, but this is how you got to be here. You know, there's an order, there's a protocol, there's a strategy." So I didn't put her out. She ended up being the person who introduced me to the mayor of our city. And her connection to the mayor is how we actually bought the strip mall that we bought.
Wow.
If I had not been, you know, humble enough to make people the priority, then I would have been so focused on the business, the deals, the purchases, that I would have missed out on the value of why I'm doing it in the first place. And that's people.
Wow.
So,
man, it's so many nuggets that people can grab and learn from it. And I learned, like, this year, going into this year, I said one of the things I'm going to do is be very intentional about relationships. Now, it's not saying that I wasn't before, but I can honestly say the work was more important than everything else. It was, everybody else should just understand, and it got to be convenient.
yeah.
Now I've created a system to be able to check, to be able to put certain things in place and check in. I rerouted my entire schedule where Mondays are my coaching days, Tuesday is my content day, Wednesday is what I say that's the day I date God. Creating Thursday is more of a think day, so that's when I jot down certain things and plan for the next week. That's when I'm getting ready for Sunday. Friday's more flex, Saturday's more flex. Now I get to have a life. So I'll make breaks within that. And I used to feel like, I'll say it this way, I just told someone, preparing your life for the blessing you're praying for.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Creating structure and
That's
strategy
good.
for the blessing you're praying for.
Yeah.
And I'm learning, as your life grows and you start getting more businesses and more revenue, it places a demand on your time where you get more money and more blessings, but you don't get more time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you make time for the people that were already in your life and the new people you need in your life?
Wow.
Right? That strategy and that tension between it. And I think about, like, for us, how beneficial it's been in our relationship. I think it will be beneficial to say this. Here's the nugget that I've learned. That every new level of life that I've reached into in new relationships, the people that you want to be connected with that you need for your next level of life are usually busy and don't need to be friends with you. You get what I'm saying? Like, those real, like, heavy quality relationships, like, your life is not, is great that we're friends, but you're gonna do what you do and be what you are even if I ain't in your life. Which means you have to create space for me to enter into a life that is in progress towards where you're heading.
Wow.
So I would say to someone who's trying to create new circles and connect to new people, you can't expect the new group of people at the next level to be as available as the people that are with you right now.
True.
Well, my old friends, well,
Yeah.
they ain't got as much going on.
True. Yeah.
I used to actually, like, my friends would actually get offended. They would hit me up and I said, let me put it on my calendar. Your calendar? But me and you, okay, let's look at the calendar. Let's see.
Let's see.
What
Let's
did I
map
say to
it
you? We was
out.
talking about something. I was like, let me look and make sure that the team didn't book something
Yeah.
else because I don't know.
Yeah.
Busy people understand if it ain't on the calendar, it's not going to happen.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, for me, I used to run into this all the time because I had so much happening at one time that I would tell friends, sometimes even family, you know what, do me a favor, call my office and let my assistant know. Now, of course, on the other side of it, it's already a yes. There's no pretense. It's already done. But this system helps me to make sure that I meet the needs of everything and everybody.
How did they respond to that?
Oh man, they were indignant and offended, and you think you are bigger than us now, or I ain't calling no assistant. I mean, it's crazy. And this is what I had to explain to them. My wife calls my assistant.
Yeah.
My wife tells my assistant, hey, block out this time. I need him from this time to this time, or the kids have this from this time to this time. So it wasn't about, me demeaning or trying to be bigger than I am in my own eyes, but they took it that way.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating to try to get them to assimilate into that cultural understanding. Like, it's a new season and it's a culture of expectation, and I have to be able to meet the demands of all these expectations, and I can't do it the way that I did it in the last season.
Man, let's go back to the beginning. Like, how did we go from Little Smokie, right, to Grammy Award winning, singing in Africa and around the world, thousands of people, global impact, husband, phenomenal father. I'm already learning so much from you. Like, take me all the way back, school, but not the school teacher Smokie. Mr. Smokie, do you mind if I go to the bathroom? No, sit down.
I was so mean too. Oh my God. I look back on my days as a teacher and I'm like, oh, I was horrible. I was so mean. I was so strict. I wasn't mean. I was very, very strict.
Yeah.
I was very strict, but I'm cool now. But here's the crazy thing. As strict as I was, my kids loved me.
Yeah.
Because I was just as cool as I was strict. I demanded excellence, but we had a good time. So
even before that, right? So before school teacher, Mr. Smokie, before pastor, I'll say it again because you don't stumble your way, and it's not like an article you can buy on Yahoo. You earn a Grammy, right? So you get what I'm saying? This is earned media. Take me all the way back from playing the piano to singing. Like, how did you get into the music industry?
Yeah, so needless to say, music in itself was always a part of who I am. Like, and since I was 3 and I was 4 years old when I started singing at church, and I was 5 when I started picking out melodies on the little toy piano. I've got pictures of me in diapers playing the piano at that little toy piano.
Should we pull that up?
No, absolutely not. I don't feel the Lord at all when you say stuff like that. But it's crazy because music has always been there. People don't understand that there's a delineation, however, because you can be passionate about music and it still doesn't mean that you have to be in the music industry or the music business. So there's the business of music or the business of ministry, but then there's the ministry of music. And those are two separate things, two dynamic, compartments.
Yeah.
With music ministry, and I tell people all the time, they say, I want to be a recording artist, and I'll ask them why. And they'll say to me, well, because I want to be able to minister to people's hearts and reach the world. They give me this high level ecclesial, response that is so perfectly wrapped and packaged for the church community.
Yeah.
But I'll say, you can do that on Sunday mornings. You can do that at your church. Okay, great. Do that.
Yeah.
And now with a global reach, you can get your YouTube channel and get on the internet, and you can do it around the world.
Yeah.
So you can do that. But if you want to be in the music industry or the music business, then you have to make sure that is a part of the process. So for me, I actually, and little known fact, but I was actually almost signed by Prince at the age of 13 years old.
Really?
Literally.
We gotta talk about that. I will die for
Man,
you.
listen. Hey, I tell my congregation, I said, can y'all imagine me with heels on, with my cheeks out, running around stage doing I'm like, no, I'm so glad.
Act like we got some sense on here,
I'm
man.
sorry. Praise the Lord, everybody.
This is literally how we are all the time. We go
Like,
eat.
for real. But my dad. So I actually had an aspiration to do music industry, and the business of music. Music. My parents made sure I understood music ministry, but they also made sure I understood music. They were determined to make sure I wasn't a jackleg at anything that I was going to do. So they made me take lessons, even though I could already play. Yeah. I already had the gift and the skill. And they also exposed me to a lot. My dad exposed me to all kinds of music. The pastor exposed me because when we're driving down the highway, he's a road hog. He's going to get on the highway. I'm going to listen to B.B. King, Mahalia Jackson, the Williams brothers. I mean, I had to listen to every type of music as we traveled. And so it just expanded. Stevie Wonder broadened my horizon, Donny Hathaway. And it created the musicianship that I have. But the business side came because I had a desire, be real honest, to be famous. Like, I wanted to be a celebrity. Yeah. Now, it didn't happen when I wanted it to because I wanted it for the wrong reasons. I wanted it because of the fame, because of the money, because of all of the other trappings that I would get. It wasn't about being able to impact, change, transform, inspire people, and to move them to a place where they have hope and even healing. Yeah. So because of that, God wouldn't open that door. It didn't mean that I didn't, however, start the pursuit or stop the pursuit, because I kept pursuing it until I just stopped pursuing it and I started pursuing Him. The moment I started pursuing Him, doors started opening. Like, literally, doors started opening. Yeah. I was just doing I was in seminary, and I was doing what I was supposed to be doing according to my divine assignment. I accepted a call to preach. I was serving at a local congregation, and I was teaching school during the daytime. So I'm doing these three things. It's a real triangle, but I'm being faithful to ministry, faithful to the church. And literally everybody wants to know, how did it happen? How did you get in? That's how I got in. I was doing what I was supposed to be doing on my divine assignment, and the right person was at the right place at the right time and said, hey, Lil Reverend, that's what she called me. Lil Reverend, not Reverend, Lil Reverend. Lil Reverend, I want you to sing on this Thompson Community Singers album. And I was like, I grew up listening to them. And I didn't know at the time, but she was the widow of Milton Brunson from the Thompson Community Singers. And they were a huge gospel choir that I grew up listening to in the 80s and the early 90s. And so I said, absolutely, I'll do it. That was the first moment that I was introduced to radio, and actually the song that I did became a radio hit around the country. And then it opened up the opportunity for me to now enter into the business side of it. And I think what people miss, a lot of times what people miss, is that any business that's not doing business is soon out of business.
Say it again.
For the people in the back section, any business that's not doing business is soon out of business. And so I didn't come in as an artist. By this time, the whole thirst for fame and celebrity and the trappings that go with it, I had actually shifted. At this time, my desire to do business and to amass wealth was not about the trappings. It was about being wise and being wealthy according to the word. Yeah. Making sure that I was being a good steward of my resources and I was leaving an inheritance for my children and my children's children. So when I signed my record deal, I went into the whole process with business as at the forefront. And I know a lot of people will, especially in the church context or the faith community, they would be appalled by that. It's like, oh no, you got to lead with the Lord. You got to go in spiritually minded. You got to go in. Yeah. It's like, well, no, I don't leave any of that behind. That's still there. Yeah. But in that context, in that conversation, it's a business conversation. And I don't think people really enter into it with that mindset, and they end up with their feelings hurt, or they end up broke or broken. And so I think leading with that and having that understanding that this is not about me doing ministry. I do that at my local church. Yeah. I can do that on the street corner. I can do that standing in the mall. I can minister in song and in music, but this is me going into the business of music.
Totally different.
Totally different.
Here's what I want to piggyback on while you're saying that. Because someone will be hearing and say, okay, I'm not in the music industry. But whatever you're doing, there's a business side to it.
It's a business side to it.
Right? So if you know that you want to help, you want to do ministry at your church helping married couples, but you want to do business where you build a platform where you travel the world helping restore marriages. You got to do the business of that.
Exactly.
So you can actually generate revenue, take care of your family, or if you write books. So you're talking about that bridge of what we're talking about now.
Exactly.
the guiding principles of the Bible, right?
That's it.
And you see
Yeah.
the money's next to, okay, if you with morality of doing things right and your heart is pure, you still have to do business
Exactly.
to be able to take care of your family, to be able to provide for yourself, right? So you're saying I went into it and I prayed about it. I made sure that my morality was intact. But there is a business side to things to say, how am I feed myself?
Yeah, I tried it. It didn't work, but I went to the light company and I said, I've got a great prayer and a phenomenal song that I could share with you, but they still wanted to turn my lights off. So,
Singing, I need you now in the dark.
I need you now in the dark. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
So my approach to that moment changed. Not just, this is really crazy. I don't know. I just got this revelation sitting right here. But it didn't just change the trajectory of my life, my career, my music, but it actually changed my children's lives. Because now, wow, one of the things that I made a demand of, I said, okay, there's a give and take in this situation. And I'm going to trust God enough to believe that he's going to give me favor and he's also going to give me wisdom so that I can negotiate and navigate this terrain effectively. And I had to be willing to say, God, if the business side is not your will, I'm cool with that. I'll do something different. Yeah. That's a huge thing too, because that the lure and the lust of money and gain and increase, if that is your priority and that's your main focus, then you will be frustrated and you'll continue to try to make something that God says, no, I'm trying to shut this door because I'm trying to save your life.
Yeah, yeah.
And so for me, I actually decided, sitting in that room, and I'm sitting there, I'm looking at two brothers who actually became my mentors, and one of them is like a godfather to me, but they're two white men, and they're sitting there. One's the CEO, one's the president of the company. And he asked, and they basically said, hey, we want to sign you, and this is the deal that we have, this is what we offer. And I said to them, I'll never forget this moment, because in hindsight, I can't believe I said it. But at the time, I was young and hot-headed, and like, you can't tell me nothing. I know who God is. I know what my God can do. I said to them, I never want to be in a position where my children have to come and sit before your white grandchildren and say, can we use our daddy's music? I said, I never want to be in that place. I had seen too many stories, too many documented in docuseries. I'd seen too many things that it didn't end well for the people who had the gift, the people who were the artist or the act, the people who were out front. And then I'd seen a few of them, like a Ray Charles story, where it indicated that, no, there is another way. Yeah. And you can believe in your artistry this much. So I had just concluded I'm not going to do it. I need to own my publishing. Well, we just don't do deals like that. No problem. I don't have to do a deal. I'll go back to teaching school, working at the ministry, and I'm content with that. And so, after a while, my name started circulating, the notoriety started growing just from the music. People need to believe in their product.
Wow.
You have to believe in your product. Let me talk to you. You have to believe in your product. If you don't believe in your product enough to stand or have a standard, which is a banner, if you have a place or a flag, this is my place, this is my position, my posture, my banner. If you don't have belief in your product, please don't expect anybody else to. They're not going to value it if you don't value it. And so, standing on that, I'll make a long story short. I got everything I asked for because they came back to me.
You got them to give you your master.
I own my own stuff. I own everything.
Let me borrow $30. Now I ain't gonna pay it back, but I just want to.
I'm gonna save it for my niece. I ain't worried about you.
Here's why that's powerful, and I don't even want to cut you off. I want to stay in that train of thought. What made you, because you got to think, the conflict some people have in terms of ministry and ownership, right? Mm-hmm. We don't always make the best business decisions because we assume that the door that God opens was the music contract, not the music contract and the ownership of masters. Yeah. So when we start saying stuff like we want it all, we haven't created a list of what all is included.
Exactly.
So you would have walked away from only a portion of what God had for you.
Absolutely.
Because you would have got the deal, but you would have been an employee.
or I would have been greedy. Let me explain how it actually even transpired. I had to be willing. So I was okay with operating within a system, because at that time now music industry is completely different now. Now you can go direct to consumer.
Yeah.
You don't even need a record label or record company. Now you don't have to even deal with the things that I had to deal with. But then I was determined, so much so that I was going to make the best decision, but this is the catch: long term. It's a long game sometimes. It's not about the immediate gratification, the immediate walk away, the immediate takeaway. So what I did was I leased it to them. I said, we'll have.
Now we talking business. Now we talking business.
I said, we'll have an agreement and an arrangement. This will be a joint venture. We'll do 50-50. So I'm leasing my other half to you for a period of time. Same thing with my publishing. I had started as a songwriter before I was a recording artist. And so my publishing was a valuable catalog even before I came to them. I had placements with artists whose names are like Marvin Sapp before my album ever came out. As a matter of fact, he recorded one of my songs. I re-recorded it on my album, and everybody was like, you stole his song. I was like, man, I guess you got to go get his version. Not knowing that if you get his version, I still get paid. It doesn't matter.
I know who paying for dinner tonight.
Absolutely. I got you on this time. Who we go to? Burger King, Wendy's, McDonald's? Which one of those we going to? No, but so I had my publishing, I did a 50-50 co-publishing agreement, right? That was the beginning of it. But I did what is called, and nobody talks about this. I'm probably going to get in a lot of trouble from the music industry. They're going to hate me at this point. But I did what is called a reversions clause. Nobody talks about it. Nobody understands it. Nobody even knows to even try or attempt to do it.
Let's talk about it.
So I'll give you 50% for the exploitation of my music, which typically is not even a real exploitation, because if you're an artist, it's going to automatically be on your project.
Yeah.
So I'll give you 50% for the exploitation of your music. They're supposed to take it and exploit it or place it in other places, but it doesn't always happen. Sometimes they just ride the easy way, which is that you're an artist, it's going to be on your stuff. Let's just make money off of that. But I'll only do it for a period of time. So let's say it was 10 years at the time. I'll do it for 10 years, but then at the conclusion of 10 years, you quit claim 100% ownership back to me. So that now, if you want to use I Need You Now, you don't go talk to a label. You don't go talk to some other outside external entities or publishing entity. You got to come and talk to me. When I'm gone, because the copyright laws are such that even after I'm gone for decades, you got to come and talk to my children or my estate or my children's children. And I even set it up, and we don't, I don't know, well, how do we get to this place, man?
Well,
but
you with me, we gonna talk. We always gonna talk business, Bible, all that, all in one. So I love it.
So I set everything up in trust. So all my copyrights, they're not owned by me. They're owned by the trust, which means that I can put, stipulations and conditions on the trust so that my children can't even sell it.
I love it.
They can only lease it, but they cannot sell it. So it'll be here for their children and their grandchildren.
And that's biblical.
It is.
To leave an inheritance for your children's children. This guy said this, I wish I can remember his name. When I was much younger, and I asked him, I said, if you could give advice I said, I feel like one day I'm gonna be a millionaire. I said, if you can give it any advice, and he was a billionaire. I said, if you can give any advice, what would it be? He said, you always have to make enough money to outlast a fool. Because every family's gonna have a fool in the family.
Wow.
He said, if you can't make enough money to outlast or outlive a fool, you at least got to put some paperwork in place.
That's it.
To protect yourself from a fool in the family.
So outlast or outsmart.
I'm telling you, that thing. I wish I could remember that man's name.
Wow.
But this was, I had to be maybe 14, 15 when I asked him this, and I will never forget it.
Wow.
You always, because every family has one person where you're like, don't leave it.
Like one. Look, no, one is good. Most of us have more than one.
Oh yeah, man. Here's where I'm blown away, and I'm thinking what others may be thinking. The brilliance of this, what I'm about, what my ministry is for, My ministry is for us tapping into and understanding that God had more in mind than just what we do in ministry. I tell people that God did not wind up the world, think through everything, and forget how we was going to pay our bills and take care of ourselves.
Wow.
Right? So it wasn't like, oh, you'll be a minister, you'll be a singer, and to acknowledge He gave you the gift of song, but not to acknowledge that you're going to have desires, you're going to have passions. When people say, I love traveling, you have to understand that if that desire is there, there has to be a means to pay for it.
Right.
So you're talking about how you put certain things in place that is this conflation, this ambidextrousness between I'm going to sing with this, but I'm also going to protect my family. I'm also going to provide for myself. You were talking core doing business.
Yeah.
This is not let's join our hands and pray. This is not pastoring. This is my family's going to own something.
Right.
This is, if we're talking Bible, this is not just the type to Melchizedek. This is the negotiation of the deal that Abraham did with Abimelech to buy the wells.
Exactly.
This is my family's going to own these wells, so Isaac going to find his Rehoboth.
Exactly.
right? This, if we're going biblical.
Yeah.
So it's that context, man. I love it. If you don't mind me, but we've talked about this. Let's dig into, like, even in this, right? You already said, look, where your kids can have it. What made you include them in it? Because you were talking about, like, in this most recent project, your kids are a part of, you've got two beautiful sons, man. We got to get into to that piece too. But what made you include them in it where now they're a part of the business?
Yeah, so.
Well, just speak to the whole thing because they don't know what we're talking about. They don't know what we're talking about.
So, okay. I started, of course, with my children in mind. From the beginning, before they were born, I'm saying to these people, the label president and the label CEO, I have to position my children so that they have authority and control over the creative works.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to hand these to you. I'm going to make sure that they're covered. And that means that I'm not going to give you the publish. I'm not going to give you the ownership completely. We're going to split this. We're going to do a reversions clause. We're going to have all these things in place. Well, fast forward 20 years later, and I'll give you a little bit of the testimony. I wrote I Need You Now, which is the biggest song I've heard. There's millions and millions and millions and millions of streams and, well, gazillions of streams and millions of sales. Because thankfully it came out in a time when you actually had to buy the whole CD instead of a song.
Right.
So that means I got paid for the whole CD. That means every song on the project. It was God's timing for sure. But I wrote the song because my wife had been diagnosed with tumors, and this was her second time. This time they came back and said, it looks like it's cancerous. Then they told us we wouldn't be able to have children naturally at all. My father, right before that, had open heart surgery. My mother, right after that, was paralyzed her whole right side. They said she would never be asymmetrical. My grandmother, they were threatening to amputate her leg, and this was all like within 6, 7, 8, 9 months at a time. It's just like back to back to back to back. And so I sat down and I just said, God, I need you now. I'm about to go crazy over here. I need you right now. So the song was really about that moment. Well, my dad is healthy. He's doing fine. He pastored and then retired at 45 after 45 years, and now he's pastoring with me. He's working for me. So I'm my dad's boss and pastor. But he makes sure I understand that I'm still daddy. And my mother, she's 100% asymmetrical. You never tell she's ever been paralyzed. My grandmother's died since gone on to be with God, but she left with both legs, so even that didn't have to happen. And then my wife and I, we were blessed with the first son, which was Trey, and it was a labor. We talk about the bedroom here. It was a labor of love. Yeah. I never thought I would feel like I felt when that basal thermometer kept going off on the side of the bed. I was a servant.
Hold on. What is a basal thermometer?
All right, that tells you the ovulation period, and that tells tells you when the body is ready for conception. And so the basal thermometer would go off, and my wife would be like, "Honey, it's time." I'm like, "Oh my God." I never thought.
You never thought you'd hate
in
sex.
my whole life. I never thought that I would ever feel like that about sex.
She was using you for your body.
I was being used for my body.
No other place did Epic Talks could you force somebody to talk about. I love it.
And I have never ever. My wife gonna kill me. Oh my God, here we go.
I love it.
But I literally, like, it was so bad, Marcus. She hit me one morning. I mean, it was just like, I was like, oh, I would play like I'm asleep. She'd be like, hey, it's time. I was like, oh. So one morning I said, you got to be pregnant. Like by now, you got to be pregnant. Yeah. Sure enough, I went and got a test. She was pregnant. I said, I think you were milking this. You were pimping me for my juice. Man. So I had that son. To God be the glory, because we weren't supposed to be able to, right? Yeah. And then she got pregnant again, and I had another son. I wrote a song called God is Able, and He Won't Fail. And it was a result of that. So people don't understand that that's where the songs actually came from.
Wow.
20 years later, I never pushed them, they had every instrument under the sun in the house. I had stuff in the house that I don't even play, just in case they decided that they wanted to, but I never pushed them. Finally, they got interested, and they started asking me to teach them, and I wouldn't teach them. It's like, no, I'm not. I'll get you a teacher, but I'm not going to teach you. I don't have the patience. And I'm going to be daddy when I'm supposed to be teacher, and teacher when I'm supposed to be daddy. So I just literally avoided the whole concept, the whole conversation. But they desired and thirsted for it themselves. And when I saw their natural hunger, I opened it up and exposed them to any and every way that I could that they could actually participate. And so 20 years later, the song that it was just a #1 radio single. So they have a #1 radio single. Those same boys, those same miracles are helping to produce miracles in other people's lives by giving them hope, encouragement, empowerment through the music that they co-wrote with me. So so that's what it means to have handled the business well, so that 20 years later I can still be at radio and be #1. Yeah. That I worked hard.
A #1 hit with your son.
With my sons.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
So I need to ask them to borrow some money.
Hey, for real.
Now this is so amazing. I make jokes because this is just how we rock. But man, that story of what you experienced, how the songs came to be, and you got to think 20 years later, the song is still reverberating around the world. That level of depth and passion don't hit if you're not experiencing emotionally what you was going through.
Exactly.
So it don't even feel the same.
Exactly.
And then to see now where you are, both of your sons, just seeing man, I wish we're gonna have to do a whole nother episode on we gotta have you and your wife on.
We got to do that, and yeah. We can do another episode. You had a whole family.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all ready for that action though.
Listen,
that's a lot of action.
The reason I say that is, talking with you all have done a phenomenal job as it relates to parenting kids graduating early from college, like 2 years,
3 years.
And 3 years to graduate from college, both
with honors.
With honors,
that's God.
Both of your sons as well as your daughter, on down the line, and just what they've been able to accomplish and that level of success and academics and even what you're doing with ministry. I know you have your church in Chicago,
right,
as well as here
ATL.
Here in the ATL.
Yes, exactly.
I'm pulling up on you.
Come on, man.
I'm walking in like old school Baptist. We come this far. I'm walking in the back.
You gonna have your robe on?
Come in there with a Versace robe on, with a Versace robe and an eNation hat. No, but church in Chicago, church in Atlanta, man. Let's speak to that. Like, how were you able to pastor, run your business, travel? When I talked to you recently, you were doing a radio run on that line, being in 2 different cities, and you're not just simulcasting. You're here.
Yeah.
Like, how were you able to manage your schedule? And here's why. Everybody doesn't want to be Grammy Award-winning singers, pastors, etc. But everyone has a lot of things. Everyone has more tasks than they have time. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, like, what strategies can we lend to people to say, hey, as you grow businesses, as you grow your life, as new responsibilities and every blessing becomes a burden if you're not ready to manage it?
Yeah.
How do you manage your schedule? How do you do Atlanta, here, music, still make time to be used? Let your wife use your body.
Oh, I don't mind now. We ain't got no thermometer going off now. I'm the thermometer. Hey, wake up. You good? You sleep?
How do you manage all of it, man?
So it's 2 L's, leverage and leaders. First thing is I had to figure out what can I leverage. And I think a lot of people miss the mark when it comes to that because they try to do it themselves. But no, I've got to leverage every resource, every asset, every tool. Like ministry now, if you don't have a social media presence, if you don't have a digital or global footprint, you're going to be behind everything and everybody, and you may not even make it.
Yeah.
As a ministry, and that's as a business, as whatever it is. Like, you have to know what is available and accessible, what tools, what resources can you leverage. How I do the back and forth, how I do here and there is I leverage technology. I have a huge screen, and so I'm simulcast from here to there and there to here, which means that I'm splitting my time, splitting the difference between me being here, me being there. But it feels like I'm where I'm wherever I'm not, because I'm leveraging technology, and then utilizing these frequent flyer miles that I've built up all these years, man. Right. they pay it off really well. But then the other thing is leaders. You will only and there's a guru. He's a leadership guru that helped to coach me. He was actually an executive coach for me when I first started the church. Dr. Samuel Chan, and he says you'll only grow to the threshold of the level of your pain. Or the level of the threshold, rather, of your pain. If you can't handle more pain, then you'll never grow beyond that point.
Jeez, that's a bar.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So you're limited by how much pain your system can handle, how much pain your business can handle, how much pain your life can handle. I mean, and so for me, I have to have leaders. Developing leaders becomes the main priority. Not just workers, not just people who are serving, not just people who are employees, but actual leaders, because they will take areas, create the teams, and then sustain and maintain what we've obtained.
Yeah.
And I think that is the priority, and that should be the priority for anybody in any area, any business, any ministry, any venture, because I couldn't do all of these, even at my house. I can't take credit for all that my children are doing and what they become, and because I was on the road a lot. I was gone a lot. But my wife and I had a system where she was the leader of that particular area of covering the kids, making sure the lights was on when I got there. I would go out and collect the money, but she would have to make sure that the bills were paid, and she's administratively a giant. She's actually been my booking agent the entire career.
Wow.
She handles all of my booking, and has since the beginning of my career, because we had a system, and she led that area and led this area. So the only way I'm able to do all that I do is I have great leaders who have formed phenomenal teams, and I leverage every resource that I can get my hands on.
Man, I absolutely love it. Let's before I let you go, man. New album out.
Yes.
Let's kind of speak to that, where they can find it, name of the project,
Definitely.
and any upcoming thing, anything you have upcoming.
So the album hasn't completely dropped. The single is out now. It's called I Still Have You. And definitely, as I said, my sons are writers, co-writers on this project, co-producers on this project. I'm super excited about it. And it is the precursor, because the entire project is going to drop in May. I think May.
My birthday's in May.
Oh, we're gonna turn up.
All right, let's do it.
We're birthing two things in May. We got Marcus and this music.
And my baby will be born.
Wow. Yeah, it's time.
Yeah,
it's time to turn up. Well, we better turn up in April, because you ain't gonna get no sleep after May.
Hey, let's do it. I'm excited, man, because you want to look like, so in every area of life, I like to have a tribe that supports me in an area. You've been an undeniable resource as it relates to preparing for parenthood. This will be my first child, relationships, marriage, etc., and navigating so many other things. So I thank you for being my brother,
man,
for being my friend.
My pleasure.
You check in on me.
I do. You good?
literally, you check in on me, man. So I thank you, man, for not just that, and for making time for this. You know how important it is to me to add value to the lives of others. And I know your story is going to impact them in so many ways, because there's so many nuggets, from leadership to knowing you're called to do something, but managing the business of it.
Absolutely.
Which is key. I thank you, man.
I taught the people with the basal thermometers.
Oh, yeah. And that too.
Now, I probably, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go home after this airs, but, Actually, no, it's cool. I'll make up.
Oh Lord. Well, where can they find you? Where can they listen to your music? Where can they follow you? Where can they support you? Just speak to everyone and tell them where they can connect with you.
I'm Smokie Norful everywhere. So I'm at Smokie Norful on Instagram. It's official Smokie Norful on YouTube, Facebook at Smokie Norful. You look for me, Smokie Norful, everywhere. SmokieNorful.com. I mean, Smokie Norful, that's it.
I love it. Well, this has been another phenomenal episode of Epic Talks. Do me one favor. Make sure you connect with us. You can text the word eNation to 74121. 74121. It's going to allow you to be a part of our tribe within our global community. So many resources from Epic University where you can learn about faith, right? So I always tell people, once you get saved, then what? You know, what does that look like? How do you actually read the Bible? So Epic University provides resources for business development as well as business development, so you can learn social networking and things of that nature. Now, if that were not enough, I want to make sure that you also know that Epic Cares, which is our philanthropic arm, that around the world we are giving back from feeding the homeless to partnering with organizations to provide meals and partnering with schools. So Epic University, Epic Cares, and the eNation, where you can join us every Sunday at 12 o'clock as well as Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and be a part of the brotherhood, sisterhood, and all of our small groups. Well, family, I love you to life. I hope you got extreme value from this. Remember, whatever you're talking about, we're talking about. Epic Talks. I'll see you next time. So that's going to be the main angle. So we got, what, 4 cameras? Yeah, I want to make sure visually they can see everything. Well, since you're here being nosy, what up? Here's what I want you to do. Make sure you don't miss this Sunday. You can come with your bonnet on. You can pull up with your do-rag on. Online only. The eNation every Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Pull up this Sunday, 12 p.m. The eNation. What y'all doing? Get out of here.
Teaching that we get and the information that we get within the eNation is that it can be added to everyday life. It's practical. It's practical teaching where you can add it to your personal life, your relationship life, your spiritual life, and your financial life. So that is what makes it different. It is a teaching that no one is out here right now teaching on how to balance your life in all 3 of those core areas so that you can live a life in abundance in all of those areas.